What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. It's time to take a look at this week's college football playoff predictions. We have a lot of movement from last week. Clemson drops out, Texas A&M drops out, Iowa State out of the picture. So let's go ahead and talk about it here. All right, so you can see to the left of me, to y'all's right, you got first four out. Okay, so these are kind of the predictions I've got going forward. Clemson, with that loss versus Louisville, they're going to need a lot of help now because as of right now, two teams above them in the ACC, SMU and Miami, both have pretty weak schedules going forward. So I really don't see either one of those teams losing. Now, if SMU was to lose, Clemson's strength of schedule would probably give them the head-to-head there. But as of right now, I don't see that happening. So Clemson's going to need a lot of help to get back into the picture. They've got to hope Louisville wins out, and they got to hope Georgia continues winning as well. Next up, LSU. These are in no order, by the way. You've got basically a trio of SEC teams here: LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and this is kind of what I think is going to happen. Now, if I was to put one of these teams in, it would probably be Tennessee. I could easily see them beating Vanderbilt, but as of right now, I don't have that happening. But I do have them losing to Georgia. But Tennessee is the team I would put in if I was going to replace them. But as far as this scenario, this is probably what's going to happen. You're going to end up having a two-loss team from somewhere, whether it's the Big 12, ACC, versus a three-loss SEC team. That's your argument. Which one of these teams gets the last spot? That could happen. So let's go ahead and get into it. Top 12. Number 12 got SMU. I've got them with 2 losses right now. Now, will they get in with these 2 losses? That's the question. Okay, because they haven't beaten anybody, but at the same time, they're only 2 losses. Let's say they don't get dominated by Miami. They keep it close. You haven't beaten anyone, but your 2 losses are to the only 2 undefeated teams in the country. I think they get that benefit of the doubt there over a 3-loss SEC team. So they get in here. Now, if Tennessee was not to lose to Vanderbilt, number 11 would slide to number 12 and so on. Okay. But that's why SMU is number 12. At number 11, I've got Boise State. As right now, they're in the driver's seat. The only scenario they're probably not going to be the G5 representative is if they drop a few games or Army goes undefeated and beats Notre Dame. That's probably your only shot there, unless Army can keep it really close with Notre Dame. Then we could have an argument. Number 10, Indiana. They don't play anyone minus Ohio State. So a lot of it is going to depend on what do they do versus Ohio State. Can they beat them? I don't think so. But if they can keep it close, I think they're in good shape. Now, if they get blown out, if Ohio State just manhandles Indiana, I think we're going to have a different discussion as far as Indiana could probably get left out despite having 1 loss. But I don't see that happening. Ohio State hasn't been just too dominant, and then also Indiana has looked pretty good. So I think Indiana's in good shape there. Number 9, Notre Dame. They've got 1 loss versus Northern Illinois. I have them winning out, beating LSU, beating Army. So I think they're going to be fine going forward. They've got that win over A&M as well. Number 8, Alabama. Got them with 2 losses. As right now, that's where they're sitting with 2 losses to Tennessee and Vanderbilt. I think they run the table from here on out. Number 7, Penn State. I've got them with just the 1 loss versus Ohio State. I think they'll win out as well. So I think they're in fine shape to make the playoff because – like you can see here, it's probably, I realize not now with how everybody's records are, but by the time we get to the end of the season, a lot of these schedules are backloaded. So you're going to see teams with 2 losses, 3 losses. So I think there is a potential for a 3-loss team to get in. But Penn State, I think with 1 losses, they're fine. Number 6, Georgia. I've got them with 2 losses. Okay, so right now the 1 loss to Bama, and then they lose in the SEC championship to a team I haven't talked about yet in Texas. Number 5, I've got Oregon, 1 loss to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. BYU, number 4, got them 1 in the Big 12. The Big 12's best scenario for getting 2 teams in was Iowa State and BYU going undefeated. Obviously, it's not the case now. So I think the Big 12 is a 1-bid league right now. 3, Miami, undefeated as well. They're really close to being a 1-bid league team. Now, Clemson, like I said, if Louisville somehow goes on a run here or, some other chaos happens, Clemson might could sneak back into the thick of things. But SMU being in with a loss is even a stretch here. Their best hope is for SMU to beat Miami in the ACC championship. Miami loses. That's their only loss, and that's going to be your only scenario probably to get 2 teams in unless this exact scenario happens that you can see right now. Number 2, Texas. I've got them winning out, so that would include them beating A&M and then beating Georgia in the SEC championship. And then at number 1, I've got Ohio State avenging that 1 loss to Oregon in the Big Ten championship. But those are my predictions as of this week. It'll probably change next week because there's a lot of chaos next week that could happen with the SEC matchups. We've got Ole Miss and Georgia, Alabama, LSU. That should kind of thin which team should actually make it, as well as the college football playoff rankings releasing this week. We'll know a lot. But who would you add to this list? Who would you take out? What are your predictions? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.